As the lines between morality, standards, and just hoflation in of itself are becoming more blurred and blurred by the day, we who are godly people aiming to be pure have a sacred duty to address something that is occurring in our society, which I genuinely think that it is the luxuriousness and the hoishness of our society that is ensuring the deterioration of not only our finances, but also of our standards, our principles, etc. You see, most of the people out here, especially the ones who are on the hoe side of things, and the men who are the hoe makers side of things, they no longer have morality. They've given themselves, they might have self-awareness, but they don't care. That's the difference. You see, that's the difference between somebody with true morality and somebody without morality. Is the person with morality knows that they're just as capable of doing those things as the degenerate person or the NPC or whatever, whatever you want to call him. However, he or she chooses to be good and to be righteous and to maybe even perhaps be filled with righteous indignation in doing so. See, there's a philosophy behind what righteous people do. It's not just because we want to shame or judge people. It's that we don't want people to go to hell for no reason. That's what the difference is. If you are actually a follower of Christ, it's not that you want to see these people be right or be corrected. It's that you want to see them in heaven. Like, you want to see them on the other side and with Jesus Christ. And unfortunately, they just don't care enough to want to have the ability to be moral anymore. A lot of people just don't want this anymore. They don't want to, and they just don't care, guys. They just don't care. The moral mask is there, and they don't know the difference between themselves and other parts of themselves. Like, they don't know the difference between the performance and the appearance of who they are versus the image and who they actually are. They no longer know the difference. And so a lot of these performative aspects of people, it's just inherent for them to be misguided. And you cannot talk sense into these people that don't have shame, because there are so many people nowadays who are shameless. And to be fair, as men out here, we are aware of shame, but we do not let anybody, but between me and God, per se, as a man, we don't let anyone between us and God tell us about what we ought to be shameful for. Okay, that's between us and God. But the fact that there's so many people who are blatant in their degeneracy. I had a weird experience this morning. I was at the gym and I was reading a book because I've been reading the Iliad and the Odyssey while I've been walking on the treadmill at an incline in the mornings. And so I'm reading the book and I'm invested into the Odyssey. And suddenly there's someone next to me and I can feel this person looking at me. And then they start trying to mess with the buttons on the treadmill and such. And I finally look over and it's this relatively attractive middle-aged woman, and obviously takes good care of her body, but I can see that the spirit that she has is not one of substance. But, I just notice it and keep going back to what I'm doing. And then she finally just says to me, "Oh, I hate these fuckers." Like, talking about the treadmill, and I'm like, what the fuck? Just press the quick start button. Press the quick. Like, what are you what are you doing? And she was just trying to, get my attention. Really, at that point, it seemed like. But I didn't really pay too much attention to it, and I just went back to my book. But then she had a call, like she was making a call through her earphones or whatever, and every single word out of her mouth was the F word. Every single word, okay? Now, look, I find a difference between cussing and cursing. Okay, cussing is just when you swear, and, is it the most beautiful language and form of language? No, it's not. But I don't really necessarily see it as a sin to say the F word or a-hole or whatever. Like, I don't see it as a sin. But, if you make a curse, and that's definitely witchcraft and a sin, right? So when you're cursing someone, like, oh, I wish ill will onto you, okay, that's not good. That's no good. But to cuss, it's not a sin. But it's not a good look either, especially for a middle-aged woman in public at the gym, which I've never really seen this woman, and never really seen these types of people and how they behave, especially in Utah. Like, I'm in Utah. Okay, the fact that this kind of talk is becoming more and more accepted in Utah, that's crazy to me. That's crazy. I don't know where she was from. Kind of seemed like she was from California or something, just by the way she was dressing and her fake eyelashes going out, But again, her body was in good shape, obviously, but these people are looking great on the outside, but on their inside and then their soul, it's just so degenerate and so profoundly disturbing. I mean, what kind of behaviors, if that's acceptable in public now for women? Because there was once upon a time where women did not speak like that at all. They did not speak like that at all in public. And I was kind of just caught off guard by the abruptness and the abrasiveness of this woman. Not really caught off guard, I suppose, and then I'm not really surprised, but it was just like, I didn't even know how to respond, because this kind of stuff just isn't okay where I'm from. Like, this kind of stuff in my household, if a woman talked to me like that, no, we're not gonna speak like that. At least, especially in public. You maybe you can speak like that to me in private. If you want to swear in private, that's fine. But out in public, I aim to be sophisticated and pleasant. I'm not a Puritan in public per se. I'm not a Puritan online or anything. But what I'm saying is that you can't be a pervert in private and a pervert and a degenerate in public as well, as, because, like, this is what I mean. The lines between morality, standards, and hoishness is just completely disregarded. And I can't be silent about this stuff. I don't know how to not be silent about this, because it feels as though if I'm not talking about it, nobody is. And if I'm not keeping the principles, then nobody is. Okay? Do you know how many I almost said it. Bonely cans people are reaching out to everybody online nowadays, especially on X. Okay? I've seen a lot of crazy crap on X recently. And the amount of dudes that are just thirsting over it, it's insane. And I don't even want this stuff in my feed. I don't even know where it comes from. And it's basically like corn. It's basically like corn. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't know this was Instagram. I didn't know this was Cornhub. Like, I didn't know this was the hub. What are we doing, guys? I thought this was supposed to be, you're the media now. what are we, like, where are we at? It makes me want to just, because I see the value in social media, of course, but again, the lines between what's what are getting more and more blurred. And I definitely don't think it's healthy for society. And I think lust is causing this, not derosion, is derosion? Well, I suppose it's erosion. Lust is causing an erosion of principles at such a vast rate that it's affecting all of these other things casually that don't seem to have any kind of direct correlation with lust. And yet I think that there's a causation that's happening. Because although correlation does not equal causation, there is absolutely something going on when we lose ourselves as men, when we cannot contain ourselves as men, when we are giving money to whores online that we don't even know just for the sake of a few pleasant thrills, and we are doing this and we're doing that, and we're encouraging this hoish behavior. We're the hoe makers, and we're the ones making those types of women, and yet we're the same ones. A lot of the men that do the hoe making are the ones that are going to be the ones that produce the most of it. And it's crazy to me, like it comes down to even finances. People want better finances in life, and yet they're still borrowing from people. How can you fight the fiat system? For anybody that doesn't know the fiat system, the fiat currency system that we have specifically in the United States with the United States dollar is that it is not backed by any type of commodity apart from itself, which means that you can lose your purchasing power by the day when people print more of your money that you don't even know these people. So I did the math, and effectively for the last year, every 36 days or so, you're losing about 1 cent for every US dollar that you hold. You're losing 1 cent of value per US dollar that you have. That's insane. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy. If you're losing 1 cent every 36 days for every single dollar you have because of the inflation, you literally have to make like 10% more per year just to keep up with your purchasing power. And so what does this have to do with lust? Well, it's because lust is tied to greed, and greed is tied to wrath, and wrath is tied to, it's the 7 deadly sins, right? They're all really correlated together. They're all contrasted together, but yet they're all correlated together. And so what we see here is we see the collapse and the volatility of the US dollar. Okay, what we're seeing, for example, with silver and gold right now, I don't think it's that the value of gold and silver are necessarily going up, even though the value is definitely there. It's more so that the dollar is on its last legs. It's that the fiat currency is on its last legs, and the banking system is not going to let or allow this to happen. They're not going to let the collapse happen. They're going to do anything and everything that they can to ensure that you are now the commodity, your energy, your life substance. It's literally going to be like the Matrix, for anybody that's seen the Matrix, where you are plugged in. Okay, you think people are plugged in now? Wait until things come down the line where all these bankers promise a solution to the problem that they created, and it's going to be like, you're going to get the best part of this outcome, right? And what's actually going to happen is you're going to lose more and more of your purchasing power by the day. The people who own assets, the people that own things in general, are going to be the winners. And the middle class is being squeezed out right now. The middle class is being squeezed out. And I genuinely believe that it's because of this lust for greed. And it's this lust for lust. as well. I mean, think about all of the simps, right? If we as men were more capable of harnessing our lust, we wouldn't be in the position we are when it comes to, I'm just going to say it, keeping our women in line, because that's what we're supposed to do. There are spiritual laws in place that we as men are abiding by or we're not abiding by. And we either are retaining our power and containing ourselves and keeping our integrity and our self-respect, or we are outsourcing it and we're sacrificing our self-respect for some kind of form of cheap thrill on Pleasure Island. And a lot of men are hanging out on Pleasure Island right now, and they don't want to admit this. They would rather just point the finger at the hoes. And don't get me wrong, the hoes are hoeing, okay? They're doing a lot of crap, and they don't care. They know exactly what they're doing. They just do not care. It's like, remember in Batman, The Dark Knight, where the Catwoman is like holding up a gun to one of the mercenary mob people, whatever, and she's like, I'll shoot him, or something like that, and they don't seem to give a they don't give a crap, they don't give a crap, the mercenaries around. And so then Batman is from above and he says, they know, they just don't care. And then he pops down and he does his Batman stuff. And he says, no guns, right? No guns. And he, throws Anne Hathaway's, Catwoman's gun to the side. And what happens? What exactly is the lesson there? Okay, because there is a moral lesson. And even though Batman is a dark figure, even though Batman is a figure of the night, he's also a guardian of the light, right? That's the whole point of Batman. He's scary enough to scare the bad guys, but he's good enough to be a symbol for something greater. And that's what we men have to be. We now have to get to a point to where we recognize the problem and we understand the problem. And you can either do one of two things at this moment when it comes to the hoes. You can get mad at them or you can understand them. Okay, it's the same type of thing with anything going on with the financial system right now, the governments, the universities, all of these things. And I don't want to be silent about this anymore. It's not that I have been silent necessarily. It's just that perhaps it's time to put more of a focus on, look, you can either understand what's happening and get ahead based on the information that you have, or you can be decaying with the system. It's really up to you. You get to decide whether you want to keep decaying with the system and be a part of that hoish fiat blah, like you want to be part of the degenerate NPCs. Great. You don't want to own anything. Great. You want to borrow and borrow and borrow and borrow. Great. That's on you, man. That's on you. But don't say to us people who are trying to tell you that you need to own things, like you need hard assets or cash flowing assets. And think about a woman, a godly woman, she's a cash flowing asset, in financial terms, or she's a hard asset. Okay. Because that's like a hard asset is something like gold, Bitcoin, or silver, right? Those are assets that are always going to be what they're always going to be. 1 Bitcoin will always be 1 Bitcoin. 1 ounce of silver will always be 1 ounce of silver. 1 ounce of gold will always be 1 ounce of gold. But when it comes to women, like a hoe, she is a depreciating asset that compounds on interest by the day. Like every time you sacrifice your self-respect to be with a hoe type of woman, you are basically taking out a loan from the devil himself with compound interest, in which you have to pay time with your soul for eternity if you don't pay off, quote unquote, the debt that you took out to get into that loan because you didn't pay attention to the red flags. You didn't see the red flags. That's on you. I can't tell you how many times I've seen men see the red flags and yet they continue forward anyway because they think that their woman is the exception. Your woman is not the exception. She's not the woman. She's a woman. There is no the woman. There is a woman and there's another woman. It's not that you, because we men want to believe in idealized romance. And it's actually a form of utility for us biologically because it allows us to be committed to a woman. But with women, they don't operate like that. They just don't. And it takes, I would say, it takes tremendous amounts of virtue on the side of a godly woman to actually make a commitment to God than it is for a man to make a commitment to God. And it's not because the man is less virtuous. It's just that for a woman to get to the point where she can keep a commitment with God, holy crap, that's gotta be a woman. Okay, that's not a girl anymore. That's a woman. Okay, somebody like Ruth, for example. I've been doing a lot of research with Ruth recently. Ruth makes a covenant with God. She never makes a covenant with her husband or anybody else. Like she makes the covenant, well, with technically Naomi and God. She doesn't make a covenant with the husband, okay? She makes a covenant with God. And what does she go out and do? And she does a lot of great things. You know, Esther is another example of a great godly woman in the Bible. But these women nowadays, do you see any women that even resemble a woman like Esther, really? Or a woman like Ruth? Really? Do you see that? Because it's, again, the lines are so blurred nowadays that a woman, this is where it is. A woman can act like a prostitute and expect to be treated as a wife. That's where we are. And women don't even think about this stuff. They literally don't. They still think that they're entitled to that wife status because men have betrayed other men. That's what this is. Men are betraying other men, and there really is nothing left for us godly, righteous men to do other than to keep our frame, put on the crown on top of our own head, lead the way or leave them. That's all we can do. We can only lead or leave. So, with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. I hope it also opened some different kinds of insights into the future and what the future holds and how to prepare for the future as well. So, yeah, guys, I mean, I just thought of something else. When it comes to preparing for the future, you're either putting yourself in a better position today for tomorrow, or you're putting yourself in a worse position tomorrow for today. That's really something to think about. Now, with that being said, I hope that you all stay blessed. Join the Regal Change Academy, the online school and community that we have. It's really what it is a university and church replacement option. That's what I'm creating it, and it is created to be. And there's a free tier and then there's the premium tier. The free tier is available for everybody and you get access to the community. And then with the premium tier, you get access to the group calls as well as the classes that we have. And those are weekly at this point. So check that out. Do some more research into it, of course, and schedule a one-on-one session with me otherwise if you want to go into more deeper topics like this. And I hope everybody stays blessed. Peace. Until next time.